The referee's arm shot out pointing to the spot a try. The stadium erupted a roar of 23,000 Queenslanders convinced that the impossible had just happened. Jasmine Peters-Maroon's winger had seemingly found the line in the final minute of the game, a game that would decide the Women's State of Origin series. The scoreboard read 14-10 to New South Wales. If this try stood with the conversion to come, Queensland would snatch victory and with it the shield. But in modern rugby league nothing is certain until the bunker has had its say. The fate of the series and the hopes of an entire state now rested on the slow-motion replay on the pixels, on the meticulous judgment of the video referee in Sydney, hundreds of kilometres away. This wasn't just a game, it was a clash steeped in history, pride and the very fabric of Australian sporting rivalry. We're talking about State of Origin, a contest that transcends sport, becoming a deep-seated cultural touchstone. For weeks the air in Brisbane and Sydney had crackled with the anticipation of this second game. The first match had gone the way of New South Wales, a tight, bruising encounter that left both sides hungry for redemption. The series was being decided in Queensland at the spiritual home of rugby league's Suncorp Stadium, a venue that often felt like a living entity, breathing with the passion of its faithful. The Maroons, playing on home soil, felt the weight of expectation. For the women involved, many juggling full-time jobs, family commitments and the relentless demands of elite sport, this wasn't just about a trophy. It was about honor, about representing their state and about inspiring the next generation of young girls in places like Rockhampton, Penrith and Townsville, who dreamt of pulling on that iconic jersey. The lead up to this decider had been intense. The New South Wales Blues, confident from their Game 1 victory, had travelled north ready to face a Maroons side determined to level the series. Queensland's coach had spoken passionately about a fair go for his players, a chance to showcase their talent on the biggest stage. The players, from humble beginnings in the regional centres to the bustling suburbs of the capital cities, were united by a common purpose. Take Isabel Kelly, a veteran centre for New South Wales whose journey from the western Sydney suburbs had been one of grit and perseverance. Or Ali Brigginshaw, the Queensland captain whose leadership and sheer will to win epitomised the Maroons' spirit. These weren't professional athletes in the sense of the men's game earning millions. Many worked trades in healthcare or in education. They trained after long shifts, pushed their bodies to the absolute limit, all for the love of the game and the honor of their state. The crowds, nearly 24,000 strong, had packed into Suncorp Stadium that Wednesday night, a sea of maroon and blue, their voices ready to carry their teams through 80 minutes of brutal, enthralling football. The stakes were clear. New South Wales sought to defend their title. Queensland fought for pride and the chance to force a decider. From the first whistle, the game was a brutal tit-for-tat affair. Both teams traded blows, defending with ferocity, their attacking raids often stifled by desperate last-ditch efforts. New South Wales managed to cross the line first, an early try that settled some nerves but only intensified Queensland's resolve. The Maroons hit back their own try, narrowing the gap, keeping the scoreline tight and the tension palpable. Every tackle was bone-jarring, every run met with a wall of defence. The physicality was immense, a testament to the dedication of these athletes. As the clock wound down, New South Wales held a slim lead, 14-10. Then came the moment that would define the match, perhaps the series. With less than a minute on the clock, Queensland launched one final desperate assault down the right wing. The ball found its way to Jasmine Peters. She pinned her ears back, racing towards the corner flag, a blue jersey in hot pursuit. The crowd rose, a collective gasp turning into a roar as she dived, seemingly planting the ball just inside the white chalk. The on-field referee, caught in the heat of the moment, signaled a try. The Queensland players celebrated wildly, believing they had snatched victory from the jaws of defeat. But the video referee, the bunker, held the ultimate power, a detached clinical eye examining every frame. The process in the bunker is a microcosm of legal review. It's about applying the rules, the precise letter of the law of rugby league, to the facts. The video referee, operating under the highly specific guidelines of the National Rugby League's rulebook, becomes the judge. The footage, replayed from multiple angles in slow motion, pixel by painful pixel, is the evidence. This isn't about emotion or the roar of the crowd, it's about establishing whether the ball was grounded cleanly, whether a foot touched the sideline, whether any part of the player's body was out of bounds before the ball was legally placed. It's a moment of pure, unadulterated scrutiny where the slightest infraction, invisible to the naked eye at full speed, can overturn a game-defining decision. The lawyers in the room, if you will, are the commentators dissecting the replays, offering their interpretations, but ultimately their opinions are just that. The final ruling rests with the bunker. The Queensland players, exhausted but ecstatic, huddled together watching the big screen, their jubilation slowly morphing into anxious anticipation as the replays began. The New South Wales players, equally spent, watched with bated breath, knowing their series lead hinged on this one moment. The footage zoomed in, slowed down, rewound. Was the ball fully grounded before Peter's foot brushed the sideline? Was there separation? The margin was excruciatingly fine, a matter of millimeters, a fraction of a second. The tension was unbearable, a silent plea from thousands of fans hanging in the air. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the decision came down from the bunker: no try. The Queensland supporters groaned, a collective sigh of devastation rippling through Suncorp Stadium. The replays, now undeniable, showed Peter's foot had indeed grazed the sideline just before the ball made contact with the turf. It was a technicality, a cruel twist of fate, but it was the law. The decision stood. New South Wales had survived. The final siren blew seconds later, confirming the Blues' 14-10 victory, and with it their second consecutive Women's State of Origin series. The jubilation for New South Wales was raw and immediate, a mixture of relief and triumph. For Queensland it was heartbreak, a feeling of what if that would linger for months. They had come so close, fought so bravely, but the uncompromising rules of the game had denied them a dramatic comeback. The series was over. New South Wales had lifted the shield, not through a dominant performance but through sheer resilience and, in the dying moments, the merciless precision of the video review system. It wasn't a perfect ending for everyone, but it was a definitive one. This nail-biting finish, decided by a pixel-perfect review, isn't just a sporting anecdote. It's a powerful illustration of how rules and tribunals impact our lives, even in seemingly unrelated contexts. Imagine you're an everyday Australian, perhaps a small business owner in Footscray or a renter in inner city Brisbane. You might feel a dispute is going your way, only for a technicality, a precise reading of the law, to snatch victory from your grasp. This could be in a case before VCAT or NCAT concerning a rental dispute under the Residential Tenancies Act, where a landlord or tenant's behaviour, meticulously documented, is weighed against specific legal obligations. Or it could be a consumer complaint lodged with Consumer Affairs Victoria or New South Wales Fair Trading, where the Australian consumer law provides clear rights, but the evidence must be impeccable to enforce them. Think about the Fair Work Commission, where a seemingly minor procedural error in a dismissal case, even if the employer believes they've given a fair go, can lead to a finding of unfair dismissal. Or consider the ACCC, which rigorously enforces the Competition and Consumer Act 2010, pursuing companies that might think they're operating within the spirit of the law, only to find they've breached a specific provision. The lesson from Suncorp that night is clear: the law, like the rules of rugby league, can be unforgiving in its precision. What does this mean for you? It means understanding your rights